Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for attending what is session one of 2 sessions, but what is a fairly unique briefing. We're living in a changing world. My name's Tom Bingham, the CSI Sales Director here, and what we're seeing for the first time is our vendors and our number one vendor, IBM, really providing customers the knowledge and advance notice of products that are coming forward and enabling end users to really understand what is coming in the market space and moving forward. And I'm delighted to say we have Dylan Boday, who I've been lucky enough to listen to in the past, agreed to give us a briefing around the power as it sits in the world today and some insights into Power10. This is a 2-part briefing, and the second part is run by an excellent company called Hannibal Brown. They're a wine merchant that have a great stock of various wines and been, again, lucky enough to be on some of their sessions. And what they've been able to do is put some fun into a wine tasting session through a quiz. I always lose. And then the second part for that is obviously any questions we're not able to answer through today. We'll be moving those forward into the next session on the 29th. Last thing, you will be receiving an email registration link for the 29th session. Please make sure that gets back to our marketing team. That enables us to get wine and cheese to you in good time and make sure that everybody's got their tasting events for there. So any feedback or questions we don't get to today, we'll be making our best to answer them through today and before the session, or if not, we'll cover them off on session 2. From the agenda side, if you want to skip forward to the agenda, please, Anna. Dylan will be kicking off on the benefits and really is the core of our presentation today. I'll be covering off some of the parts around the investment that IBM continues to offer for our scale-out clients and how we see those investments being continued to be made available through IBM, and then some exclusive payment terms which IBM offered for us for Q4, and a couple of where we see P9 cases working in action for cloud and P9 cases working in action for on-premise and hybrid. And then lastly, I've asked Craig Cannon, who heads up the power side for the largest distribution partner here in the UK, Tech Data, and asked him to give us a kind of more UK-centric view and what he's seeing, how the power world is working from the UK arm as well. So let's hope we get to most of those sessions today. Anything we don't manage to get covered off today, we'll move to the 29th. I'd like to hand over now to Dylan to operate the Power10 and the power briefing. Thank you.
Very good. Let me just pull up here. Oh, you have to stop sharing, I guess, there, Tom.
Okay. There we go.
There we go. Share. Just give me 1 second.
I was going to ask Tom for the follow-up session. Do they deliver wine all the way to America for Dylan as well?
We're going to have to certainly get wines to Dylan today. We've had one customer on the Isle of Man, so we've managed to get it to Jersey. So I'm sure we'll get it to the US, right?
Excellent. Good stuff.
I have been to the Isle of Man. It's a great place. Hang on here, I'm just pulling up the slides. I had to restart for some reason.
Just for the rest of the audience, obviously this is some P10 information that's in the public domain, and as such, obviously, Dylan would like to retain all the slides. But any questions you've got, please push them through chat box or email us separately. We'd like to take your questions as we move forward.
Okay, hopefully you can see that. And yes, I do realize it's about happy hour time there in London, so about time for a pint. And with the talk of wine, maybe a glass of wine as well. And we'll have to do a virtual wine with you, sometime in the future. But I very much appreciate the invite here today from Tom and the CSI team, and very excited to spend the time with you all. Of course, would rather be there in person and going out for a pint afterwards. And but in the world that we're in today and being on lockdown, these are the things that we have to to deal with. But I do hope that you're all remaining safe and that today's session will be well worth your time. As Tom mentioned, I will walk through our, kind of where we're at with Power today, the things that we're really focused in on to provide value and continue to bring innovative solutions to you as a client. And then where we're going with Power10 and some really exciting stuff there with Power10, and just kind of recapping what's out there in the public domain, but it should be very useful information as well as you start to think about, where that will fit into your strategy. And is it full screen for you guys?
No, Dylan, we're not in full screen. If you could do that, that'd be wonderful.
There we go. Okay.
Thank you.
So, within Power Systems today, we continue to focus in on the three key, operating environments: AIX, IBM, and of course Linux. And we will deliver this entire portfolio, and we are very much focused on the hybrid cloud. And what that really refers to is we have a huge incumbency already on-prem, and great opportunity and trust and dedication. So many of you have spent your precious resources with us around compute resources for power to sit in those data centers, and we'll continue to deliver excellent and leading on-prem infrastructure for those various environments. And we're really building out now our other aspect of the hybrid cloud journey, which is Power VS. Power VS is the IBM public cloud with Power Systems, and we'll talk more about this into the presentation here shortly. But it really becomes allowing our clients, you, to leverage the same things you know and trust and love about IBM Power Systems in a public cloud manner. And it really gives you complete flexibility. And so we are really focused on bringing infrastructure that is built for business continuity, business critical, mission critical, whatever terms and words we want to use around this. It seems they change from time to time with marketing. But to really focus in on delivering the right hybrid cloud experience for you and your enterprise. And so we will leverage the power processor advantage in the way our systems are architectured for both on-prem and something we just launched in May and then enhanced in July is called Power Private Cloud. Basically on-prem private cloud with minute-by-minute metering and monitoring and billing. So definitely very unique, and we'll talk through some of that. And then if your workload can tolerate and want to have the flexibility and the burst and buffering capabilities to a not on-prem resource such as a public cloud, we can do so with that same infrastructure in Power VS. So we're very much focused on bringing the hybrid cloud environment to you all. Within that, there's two key areas that we are really focused in on today from a market perspective. One is that has been with us for a considerable amount of time. I think we've earned the trust of many clients for the last 3 decades plus in and around AIX and IBM. And here we really do bring scalable solutions up to multi-node systems built for those mission critical and high RAS type of environments and high security. Really a lot with efficiency, agility, and really transforming today. I think it's actually great in the level of innovation that has occurred in and around AIX, things like Power Private Cloud, expanding the automations with Ansible, which we'll talk about with as well, and bringing ways to have the power advantage in the marketplace, but not have to worry so much about the skills associated with power. And Ansible, I think we're up to something about 50, 70 Ansible automations today. And recently we polled a huge number of our clients at a TCC. It's a technical user group here that we hold once or twice a year. And in that polling, we found that over 75% of our clients are already leveraging Ansible for various alternative architectures. And that, bringing those to power just makes, them experiencing power so much simpler. So we're very much focused on modernization of our AIX and IBM environments. And then on the enterprise Linux, we're bringing all those capabilities and learnings from decades around AIX and IBM to the Linux environment. And this is really those business critical applications for Linux. We've seen tremendous growth around SAP HANA today. It was just 3 years ago when we launched this as an offering into the marketplace, and we sat somewhere, we had 0% market share with HANA. Today, we sit about 25 to 30% market share within 3 years. The reason for that, high reliability, the RAS architecture of the infrastructure itself, huge databases with HANA, with a lot of data, critical data to an enterprise sitting in that memory. RAS matters for those environments. Flexibility, the ability to hard partition with Power VM and to have more mixed environments, enterprise Linux plus AIX and I, absolutely critical. And we see a lot of our clients deploying in this manner today. And that flexibility gives you more production VMs with power than that of HANA, plus larger memory sizes. Instances for your databases. And what we found is it's not only on-prem, but now we can extend those same capabilities into the IBM public cloud with Power VS as well. So very excited about bringing very large footprints of memory for SAP HANA, building on that rich history of enterprise RAS and capabilities and tradition. Now, Openshift is a when we talk about modernization, we always talk about containers. Openshift is a fantastic vehicle to deliver containerized workloads and applications with. We offer a tremendous value, and we'll talk more about this with cloud packs and more containers per core than alternative architectures. And again, it's all about gluing those environments, the AIX and I environments, together with something else. Containers can sit right next to those same environments and add incredible modernization of those environments, all while not having to re-platform. And of course, AI, and really focusing in on the inferencing aspect of AI today. As that's where the market need is going. We've shifted our innovation focus to, see this with Power10, but to really focus in and around the memory. And memory is critical to inferencing. And that's where most of AI will be put into deployment, is around inferencing as well. So we're very excited about, continue to focus around AI and inferencing. And the whole goal of our enterprise Linux is really to deliver faster insights and allow our clients to grow on a platform that they trust. And really bring something that, I would say we have established those learnings that I mentioned earlier from AIX and I to deliver resilient, scalable, and secure infrastructure. Now, underneath the hybrid cloud and these key areas is the power architecture and the processor. And it really does provide that superior performance, the integration, and of course, the security of this. And so, many of you are likely running on Power 9 or some prior generation. And you can see the launch dates are associated with those. And we brought Power 9 to the market. I was able to launch that product in December of 2017. So very excited about what that server and the processor has done in the marketplace. And it's still very relevant today. And we'll talk about this. The amount of Power 7, Power 8 consolidation that can occur on a single Power 9, and the value of Power 9 into the marketplace. As you may have seen in the marketplace, we have talked about Power 10. And we'll recap some of that information as well. 7-nanometer core, and this is actually a great testament to what we're able to deliver. We have no doubt in our delivery and our capabilities associated with 7-nanometer. Now we know that some of our competitors in this place have continued to slide their deliveries out in time associated with some of the challenges in delivering the 7-nanometer. We remain committed to delivering that in 21, and very excited about that. And it'll be in the second half of 21. And we'll kind of talk through that. And the processor cycle, this takes a considerable amount of time and investment. And we're already working on the Power 10 follow-on, which we'll refer to as Power Next. But will be sometime out in the future, beyond 2021, of course. But when you really look at this, this whole chart, and it summarizes our investment and focus on the enterprise to deliver those mission critical capabilities, and doing so for our clients on their hybrid cloud journey, and really forming that partnership that is required to take those first steps into hybrid cloud and do so with confidence. Let's see here. And so when we start to look back, overall enabling this infrastructure for open and a hybrid cloud world, the first is, of course, we have to have the infrastructure. And this is really built for that business continuity, the performance, and this, per core performance, higher overall frequencies and capabilities on that. So there's a lot of software that, is often run on Power that is licensed per core, tremendous value in doing so. Best in class availability and flexibility. We talked about Power VM, and availability is kind of both, the hardware and the hypervisor combined that really deliver that, that differentiating, availability. And Power Systems, I think, is now 11 years, maybe 12 years of the #1 most reliable server in the marketplace. Is externally monitored. And so, great testament to, of course, our engineering teams, both hardware and software, to really bring that to fruition. And then, of course, security, right? The Power VM hypervisor is a very robust hypervisor with no known, security vulnerabilities. And of course, all the way into the infrastructure, it starts with that. Something we introduced some time ago, and now we're really exploiting even more, is the shared utility computing, the ability to share compute resources across a pool of like servers. And we used to do so with like capacity on demand, and so that would be by the day or longer periods of time. And now we have pay per use, really down to that overall minute, and that's with Power Private Cloud. And then, of course, we have the Power VS we talked about with IBM Public Cloud, and then we have a number of partner clouds as well where Power is available. So, we're really seeing that the availability of Power to continue to grow in the marketplace as far as the number of environments that you can consume this in, which offers more flexibility to take advantage of that Power architecture. We very much focus, as we talked about, the need to simplify the skills associated with Power, and try to simplify our clients' use of this infrastructure, because it's really the value comes in, the architecture and the performance and the scale and the security and the reliability. And if you can actually start to flatten that, we will see much broader adoption on the skills associated with leveraging this architecture. And so with Ansible, we've invested very heavily into Ansible automations, and we're actually seeing a tremendous uptake in and around Ansible today. For the architecture, and very excited about that, and how we can continue to simplify our clients' lives as they really want to focus on running their business, not the skills so much associated with running an architecture. And then we continue to focus on the various provisioning resources, multi-cloud management, VMware with vRealize, and then in and around security with Power SC and Power MFA, to really provide those complete security solutions when combined with the hardware and software. And then a lot in and around cloud packs with containerized workloads, SAP HANA, SaaS, and Red Hat OpenShift as a main vehicle for containerized workloads deployments. And the great thing is with Power VM, they sit right next to those AIX and I environments, really allowing you to co-platform versus having to re-platform, which can be a lot more of a difficult task for many of our clients, as we spoke with. So when we start to think about Power, and this is actually a slide that surprises a lot of people, and when they haven't been as engaged with us, is the ability to consume infrastructure as a service, and actually to consume it in multiple different ways. There is the traditional way, which is you procure a server and you deploy this as you would normally do so. And in here, you typically, you're going to get that overall performance and scale of the Power architecture, all the reliability and things we've talked about. And you would have a set amount of compute sitting on your data center floor. And so this is kind of your traditional infrastructure deployment, and you consume that entire server for the application. We've done some new things here, some new scale systems with high performance IO, all Gen 4, more lanes of Gen 4, down to a single core S922, primarily targeted those small IBM environments, and really expanding out the NVMe capacity associated with the scale out servers as well. So very focused in on continuing to enhance our overall Power architecture. As I mentioned in May, and then again in July, we introduced Power Private Cloud with dynamic capacity. You only pay for what you use here. And so you'll have some level of base capacity, and then you'll be able to then optimize how much what that is needed for those various environments. And we have some great aspects around lab services to help do this, and of course with partners. And then it comes into anything above that base, you pay for it by the minute. And so it's very flexible with options to lower the cost. You can optimize the TCO, or you can optimize the TCA, and we offer a lot of different ways, and we'll talk a little bit around that. It's very simple with a dark capacity on-prem. You can burst and buffer those capacities as needed, and dynamically change them from up and down. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to our clients, metered by the minute. And with the cloud management console, allows for real-time visibility, and you can set thresholds for your various internal environments based on the billing or compute requirements needed by those teams. And you can monitor those and create new environments very simply. And it's across our entire portfolio, so scale up and scale out. And then of course there's the Power VS on the IBM Cloud, and it's that same mission critical infrastructure on-prem, VM as a service. Basically, you can have access to other cloud services from the IBM Cloud as well. And we have numerous new locations of capabilities that are expanding across the globe today. So, built on demand, and, of course, the data locality required and requested by many of our clients today. I want to dive into Power Private Cloud just for a bit here and make sure, just kind of highlight some of the key aspects of this. We're seeing a tremendous amount of growth. in and around Power Private Cloud. This is our on-prem cloud solution for Power architecture. It delivers a dynamic cloud for that, business continuity and agility. And so, you pay for only what you use. And so you can have a very small base, or you can have a more optimized base based on your typical use, and then have the capacity on-prem ready to go when you need it. And you would only pay for anything above your base capacity by the minute. The whole Power Private Cloud is built off of Ansible automations. Really simplifies the management of this, and it also increases the time to value. And we have some very exciting things that we're continuing to work on in this way to start to have, a larger sets of infrastructure become automated in their deployment. So as you expand your needs for Power architecture and a private cloud, we'll continue to focus on delivering that as simply as possible. And then, of course, with increased flexibility around a hybrid cloud with Power BS. And the important thing here is we have a comprehensive set of services, with our lab services organizations and partnering teams here around capacity planning. What is the amount of capacity you really need based on your traditional workloads? How to optimize that? How to actually evolve into a hybrid cloud design? And how to automate this and really get up and running? We understand that this can be a very daunting and task to go off and create a whole hybrid cloud strategy, and with so many options and things to consider here, we really look to be a partner to you all. It is very important to us, as it has been for so many years, to partner with you, to really hear your needs and wants, to deliver those products that delight you as a client, and then of course make sure that you are successful in those deployments, and that your enterprise is ultimately successful in those deployments as well. And so Power Private Cloud is across the whole portfolio, as I mentioned about. And if you're familiar with pools, it's essentially like pools, but now with per minute and new per core or per minute utilization. So scale out S922s, 924s, the 950s for the mid-range, and the 980. All of our Power enterprise-based servers. The new base minimum here for purchase or lease is a single core in any of these systems, and up to 256 gigs of RAM. So that's your minimum capacity you'd have to procure, is one core with 256 gigs. Anything above that can be consumed on by the minute. And that can be, basically it's active capacity waiting to be used. You don't have to call in and use keys. It's all done through the cloud management console, and you buy a certain amount of credits, and then those credits can be consumed in the manner that you want them to be. We offer very granular and historic views, and so that allows you to really optimize your organization in this deployment of a private cloud to really optimize your overall efficiency as an organization as well. And of course the support and services we talked about. And this is a good example where we start to have you can actually share, not only is the infrastructure allowed to be metered and monitored by the minute, but you can share those compute resources. And so you'll have a set number of bases, and you can then, anything in and above that base gets metered. Well, if you have one system that underruns and one system that overruns, and your overall base capacity is the same, you paid nothing for that month, other than what you already had from a base aspect. And so, it's only when and above you go across the aggregate base across the pool that there would be some additional, per minute charges associated with the use of that. Now, this base and meter capacity is your processor, it's your memory, it's your AIX and IBM licenses, and we are off working on, of course, other environments and other, aspects of what can be metered from a capacity perspective. The cloud management console within the HMC basically monitors and debits against your capacity credits based on the actual usage of the minute here. So, across the various systems, in the below example, we give you systems A, B, and C, and you then have a pool of those systems where the base is ultimately the amount of compute resources used is below your base threshold. So you in this example would pay nothing for that. We've seen a couple of use cases where we do have clients who are just wanting to get to the ultimate lowest TCA possible. And when you include like the operating systems and others, I have seen examples where it's about a 70% reduction in overall TCA with a single core, 256 gigs of memory, system ready to run AIX or IBM. We're somewhere in that 50 to 70% lower TCA. The other option is to start to aggregate these across the pool, and you know, basically based on historic uses and others, and you know, we've seen that most of our clients are experiencing around a 20 to 30% lower total cost of ownership, right? So you have a TCA, which is the price to acquire, and then you have a TCO, which is the operating of this. And so it just depends on where you want to go. Do you want ultimate flexibility and you know, lowest TCA, ability to buffer you know, burst as you need with additional capacity in those? Or are we doing some optimizations here? And then as you need additional compute resources, those are on-prem ready to go, and you can use those in the most efficient way possible. And so you have, you know, as this image here on the left shows, you know, your permanent capacity, you have your overall available capacity, and then over time, you may start to consume some of that available capacity, which is the pay per use aspect, where you would be metered. And so, overall, a lot of flexibility for clients here to optimize to what matters to them and to you all on a, you know, from a cost perspective. And of course, you know, lab services with the implementation aspect can help, you know, set this whole thing up, and how much permanent capacity is needed. What do you anticipate from a dynamic capacity needed? That'll then determine what's the available capacity that you would need on-prem, and how to optimize these the finances to meet your individual end users' needs. We talked about this in that, you know, the automation is incredibly important, you know, and with the acquisition of Red Hat, we've been, you know, very fortunate that they have a tremendous amount of capabilities in their you know, cloud, and containerized workloads and automations. And Ansible is one of the fastest growing products within Red Hat today. And it's really a way to simplify. And you know, every client I talk to, and you know, as we get into the questions, I'd, you know, love this feedback as well. But simplification matters. And you know, there's a lot of you know, challenges and constraints on teams today. And the simpler that they can actually operate their environments with trust, you know, you know, ultimately the best that, you know, better that is for their enterprise. And so doing so with consistent set of skills and processes is incredibly important. That's why Red Hat Ansible is becoming a de facto way to, you know, for deployment and across the entire data center. You know, I would call is getting close to the standard of deploying IT, you know, environments. And so, you know, we're doing so with a consistent approach. And so we're, you know, we've done a tremendous amount with Red Hat Ansible automations to really do so. And so what's really important about this, it is that, you know, that consistent infrastructure approach, application management, it's across Linux, AIX, IBM I, and System Z, you know, and alternative architectures, including the IBM Cloud is included in this. So a whole host of, you know, various environments in this. And you have, just in typical Red Hat fashion, right, where you're going to have a number of open source aspects, and then you have the supported versions. There are hundreds of open source Ansible automations out there today in and around Power on Galaxy. There are, I think it's 50 to 70 today supported or so Ansible automations that are you know, supported and you know, have been tested, et cetera. And you know, we'll continue to build on that based on the feedback from you as a client. And so, you know, the main task that we're really focused on, of course, is the provisioning, the management, the application deployment, the, the consistent deployment of a set of actions across the data center, orchestrating that and security. And so when you start to bring this all together, you know, doing so for x86, Z, or the Power architecture with a same process is incredibly powerful to make that simple. And then you get the advantage of Power where you want the advantage of Power, and you don't have to worry about the skills associated with it. So, you know, we're seeing a tremendous uptake in and around Ansible automations today. And you know, and of course, just, you know, matching that what we're seeing in the marketplace around Ansible as well. You can then start to, you know, glue these two areas together, you know, with the Power Private Cloud and Ansible automations, and then, you know, have a consistent architecture across both on-prem and the public cloud. Same Power infrastructure available, same hypervisor in both those areas. You can have flexible capacity consumption in both. Just where do you want your data to reside, and you know, what's the most efficient way for your organization to ultimately deploy that. And then, you know, overall a DR and other aspects associated with this, you know, with the IBM Cloud. So you can have things on-prem and do DR in the cloud, and you know, there's, you know, you can have developer services there. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities to optimize this. But the great thing is it is that consistent architecture across both your on-prem and public, and an overall environment that can really be had with the Power Hybrid Cloud. So very excited about gluing these two areas together and really allowing tremendous efficiencies gains for our clients. And then the next piece, we've talked a lot about Openshift today, but Power Systems for Openshift delivers a tremendous amount of value. Typical, what we see is it's a lot faster to deploy with Power for Openshift. We typically see a faster payback period versus other alternative architectures, in that Power has a 3x greater container density advantage, which, depending on how these are deployed, can be somewhere in the 3 to 5x more cost effective than alternative architectures with that greater container density. There's been zero hypervisor vulnerabilities of Power VM. And it's the most reliable server ranked for 10 plus years. I think it's actually 12 years today. Is the most reliable server. So when you kind of combine these up, the zero vulnerabilities, the reliability, and that containerized density, there's really not a better platform to deploy a containerized workload on than Power architecture today. And we make that very simple with Cloud Paks. Cloud Paks are enterprise-ready containerized software solutions that allow you to move faster and in a very secure way to get those into your cloud, your hybrid cloud environment. It could be the multi-cloud Pak manager, the apps, Cloud Pak for data, automations, and security, really bringing these all together. Or there's a tremendous amount of open source packages in and around on Power that are supported as well. And so you can deploy those in a containerized fashion as well. So we have both available, from open source to complete Cloud Pak supported aspects around this, all really set and to be deployed on Power to take advantage of that Power architecture and the great advantages it brings into many of these environments. And so with that, I'm going to spend just a little bit of time around the Power10 chip and what we've announced into the marketplace that's publicly available, and just give you some more feedback around this. So, obviously from this, hopefully you can distill out that, we're very much focused on delivering an enterprise hybrid cloud. And that continues to be the focus of Power10, of course, and that, we will bring the Power10 chip that is built for the cloud, very much focused on the enterprise. It brings, it really is there to meet those demands for capacity, security, energy efficiency, which we'll talk about. I think that surprises a lot of people when we talk about the energy efficiency associated with Power10, and then overall scalability, while infusing AI capabilities directly into the Power10 chip itself. Now, we talked about this on the first slide. It's 7 nanometer technology. We remain on focus to deliver that into the marketplace. And it has larger caches, reduced latencies. Really, it's the right architecture from a core perspective to meet those enterprise needs and really be leading class from an architecture perspective. We have advanced I/O, something Power is continually noticed for, and we'll be bringing PCIe Gen 5 into this. And we've really focused in on where the market needs the next set of major innovations, and that's on the memory interface. This helps AI, but also helps many of with inferencing, but also helps many of our core key business critical applications where the memory and the memory throughput is so important. And so we've introduced something we call OMI, Open Memory Interface, really built off the learnings we've had around our open interfaces over the last several years and high throughput, low latency type aspects, to really take advantage and provide a game-changing memory interface into the marketplace. Power Systems, Power10 will deliver 3x improvement in a capacity and energy efficiency. So, very energy efficient from a data center perspective when the overall, plus, combined with the overall capacity. From a hardware to a software, it's really an end-to-end security aspect. So we're very much focused in and around that on the Power10 architecture. And then from an AI perspective, we'll see up to a 20x performance per socket compared to Power9, and really focus on inferencing for those enterprise business needs. Power10 will be delivered in 2 different sockets and modules. So we'll have a single chip module that has up to 18 billion devices on it. With 15 cores. These are the large SMT8 cores that deliver that core advantage for containerized workloads. And this single chip module will be up to anywhere from 1 to 16 sockets in total for the scalability. And then we'll introduce a dual chip module that has basically double the number of devices, so 36 billion devices sitting within a single socket, up to 30 cores per socket. And then that would be up to 4 sockets in total that will scale that system, so up to 120 cores within a single system is what we'll introduce with the Power10 chip. And so this is a kind of a summary of the Power10 chip, and here's some great quotes around this. And I just want to highlight these as it's a true testament to the innovation that we brought forward with Power10, and that the new generation is anything but an incremental step. I mean, it is truly game changing, and Peter has at IDC is really pushed that one hard and really evaluated the chip and came up with this type of aspect. Patrick Moorhead, who's a very much a industry analyst and focusing around the chip marketplace and writes for Forbes often, is Power10 is a beast of a CPU that is way out in front of the marketplace. So fantastic quote. IBM has clearly communicated its focus on the hybrid cloud, and hopefully that's come across today as well. And we're bringing energy efficiencies with it now too. So it's not only those compute capabilities, but it's energy efficiencies. Amazing improvements in a single generation. And then, I like this one here from Timothy Prickett Morgan, but we bring an architecture gun to a chip and knife fight. And I think that resonates very strongly with Patrick Moorhead articulated as well, in that it is, far out ahead of what the marketplace has today from an architecture perspective. So, very excited about, what Power10 will bring to the marketplace. But it'll be some period of time before Power10, and we're actually working on a number of transition processes to allow our clients to migrate from 6, 7, 8 environments to 9, and get you to 10 in a very efficient way, simple way, with kind of running both systems simultaneously and sharing pool resources, etc. But one of the things that Power9 depends on where you're at into the overall power generation perspective, but Power9 provides a tremendous amount of value today. And so if you're, for example, you can actually consolidate multiple Power 7 systems onto a single Power9. The largest Power 6 system, for example, can sit onto a single S924 or 922. Your scale out type of 2-socket 2U box, 2U, 4U box. And I think that that speaks a tremendous amount, in that it was the largest system in Power 6. Now Power 7, a 750 can, your mid-range product can migrate into that that scale out line. And you can only use about half of a 980 today for the largest Power 7 Plus systems. What this really refers to now is the value that Power9 can provide today. You'll save a tremendous amount on the maintenance associated with maintaining those older architectures, plus the overall advantage on many of the applications that are licensed in a way that the less is more for you as a client. So Power9 can bring a tremendous amount of value. And when you're ready to move to Power10, we have the ability to do so at that point. But if you're running a 6 or 7 based system, moving to a Power9 can give you all the value that you would ever need. From a perspective of consolidating cost savings and efficiencies, and waiting for Power10 won't necessarily bring as much as you would want. Or really need, given that Power9 has so much capabilities today. So, we're very excited about Power10 and where it's going to be bringing to the market. There's a lot of opportunity still to leverage the value of Power9 into the marketplace, and we'll be working on several ways to help you as a client to get onto Power9, and then if you want into Power10 in the future as well, and do it simply. And you can see there's a tremendous amount of value in doing so. And so with that, left some time here for questions as well, and then I can pass it to Tom. But first of all, thank you for your business. Thank you for your trust in the power architecture, and interest in the power architecture going forward. We're very excited about bringing modern solutions for the hybrid cloud environment. We're very excited about bringing new ways to consume the power architecture to really allow you as a client to enable and deploy your hybrid cloud journey. There's a great way to take advantage of the Power Systems architecture with common skills, leveraging Ansible automations that are becoming very pervasive across the data center today, all while doing so with the most reliable server that delivers more cores per or containers per core, and a security that is trusted by global enterprises. And so, we're very excited about the capabilities we continue to bring, what Power10 will bring, and what we have to bring to them and deliver into the marketplace today. So with that, thank you very much. And Tom, I'll pass it back to you to open up.
Great, thanks. Again, thanks for your time this morning, your time and our time this afternoon. As we mentioned earlier, we're kind of running on time now. So what we'll look to do, unless there's any questions that have come up through the chat box, Emma, have we got any ones which we'd like to answer now?
No, I haven't got any through.
Okay, tough audience, quiet audience, or just stunned audience, and let's hope it's a mix of all three, right? So again, Dylan, thanks so much for the time involved. It's really great that we have a product specialist and people with the insights to come and give some of our clients that heads up of what's coming forward, and again the agreement in terms of some of the acquisitions we're seeing. So Emma, if we could stick back to our PowerPoint, please. As Dylan was saying, we've got some customers of Power 7s, Power 8s. We're now seeing a majority of our Power 6 customers have actually migrated across, although there are still a few people there who, for various reasons, maybe the applications hold them back, or there's some challenges of getting OS upgrades have held back. But by and large, most of our P7s and P8s, again, as Dylan was mentioning, have already got their power capacity they need, and moving to P9 really has to be a commercial world as much as anything there. And in recognition of that, IBM are looking at ways of improving that acquisition cost. And for Q4, they've certainly reduced the amount of cost of licensing. Most, when we look at upgrades or migrations, 30 to 40% of the cost of your power systems is around the IPA and the software stacks. And that's always been a lower discountable volume because it's kind of intrinsic to IBM and it's not shared. And for the first time, we've seen last quarter, this quarter, IBM actually significantly reduced the cost of that licensing acquisition to make the transition to P9 more commercially effective. With that, as also Dylan mentioned, the new Power 9G models, they really are your first chance to move into a cloud-based on-prem processing requirement. I was going to ask Craig to cover off the pooling and how we're seeing it's probably in real terms up to 58.6% we're seeing in the UK in total cost of acquisition in some of the conflicts we've looked at already. But given our time, I think we'll probably save that for our next session, if that's okay, Craig. But the process, exactly what Dylan was speaking about, the fact is that you can actually buy what you actually need today. And if you're in a state with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 systems, you can pull those processes in the same way only our enterprise clients, our high-end enterprise clients, the E980s and the E770s, those type of clients would only be able to share processes, whereas now you're able to share those processing at the scale out and entry point of servers. So when you get confused about, can I really save this much money? It's over the lifespan of the systems. Absolutely, when you look at, you're only paying for what you need on-prem, you self-control, you have management, you have maintenance of those systems, you're only paying for that pooling. There are some restrictions, 7.4 and some of the things to get you into that P9 model, and our technical advice team will help you with those guidance. But it is a route to actually start building a bridge with your commercial team and your people who actually sign the money off to say, well, look, we can now enter a cloud-based world. Here's what we're safe with. And the pricing Craig and myself have looked at in terms of the scale out offering, the pay per minute use. Historically, we'd have seen cost of acquisition of processors need a 6 week to 6 month payback. You may have well afford it, but with the per minute billing, this is a game changer in terms of pricing and price performance, which you're acquiring these models over. So it really isn't a 5 minute time investment in terms of I just need the next one, please. It really is, as Dylan was saying, sit down with the architects, sit down with the planning sessions, work out what you need to acquire and look at that over a 3-year period and actually start consuming as a cloud-based model. It may well be you've got one particular job you need 4 cores for, well, buy that by the minute and pay for 1 core consistently. So these are sort of different ways we'll be approaching our clients now and helping with their total cost of acquisition and also their total cost of ownership. And in mixed workloads, we see that P7 and P8 was kind of flirting with the idea of actually putting AXI and maybe Linux on there. Now with P9, if we look at, as you probably remember from the chart which Dylan put up, the P7 to P9 transition, you've got double the capacity for the same amount of cores. What you do with extra capacity, well, a lot of our clients are now actually seriously putting live workload, Linux workloads onto that spare capacity, those spare processor pools, and effectively getting free Wintel replacement processing for Linux on their power systems, but with the same cost savings. A lot of the cost savings we're seeing is through middleware, and then even more, it's cost avoidance for Oracle, because Oracle won't take the price down, but what they'll do is they'll enable the amount of fewer cores you need to license in P9 to migrate that to other areas where you may need more Oracle licensing. That alone can take up 56% sometimes of the cost of acquisition of hardware. So again, please message to work with the CSI client and their technical advocates to make sure they can actually give you best advice. If we just move forward, Emma, onto the kind of the Q4 offer, IBM have always offered a 3-month delayed payment. In Q4, it's not quite there yet. We expect to see the formal IBM announcements come in the next 6 or 7 days, but CSI have been given access to a fairly unique program where you're able to make a deferral, 10% payment now, and the ambition is you're paying for by the time you actually get to use the systems in 9 months' time. So it's called extended trade terms. CSI are one of only 3 partners in the UK able to offer this to our customers, obviously subject to credit as normal things are. And as of now, it's now available for new P9 G models that have been announced in July. So we're able to not only put these new low cost of ownership P9 G models on the floor, PCI 4 generation operation systems, the great advancements you've got in those side of things, but also you're not going to have to pay for that reduced cost, possibly way back into mid-2021. And what I'd like to do then is cover off a couple of customer examples. As Dylan mentioned, we have CSI's Power Cloud operated in the same data center where IBM are going to bring their virtual Power Cloud into the UK. So we've got 5-6 years worth of tried, trusted and warranted work with those. And during this challenging COVID time, we've been really pleased that we've been able to support some customers who've made that leap into the cloud already. One of the largest privately owned stockbroking businesses in the UK had billions of trades go through these boxes on a normal day. And as COVID hit, suddenly the world went mad with doing stock market trading and do we get off, do we get on? And they saw their highest peaks ever on their systems. And it wasn't just on a day or an hourly blip, it was continuous. And because they'd moved into the IBM cloud operated by CSI, they were able to scale up and operate their business and take those trades and as Dylan was saying, getting back to their operating their business function whilst letting us manage their Power Cloud environment. And similarly, a major pet food retailer saw with COVID the migration from foot traffic in the retail parks to their website. And being on IBM Cloud, they were able to see Christmas peaks. Normally they see those transition 1 and 2 and manage those peaks. They were seeing Christmas peaks daily for the period. So COVID has been good to some of our clients, and fortunately those who moved into the Power Cloud for CSI have been able to take advantage of those. So we move forward to the on-prem stories. Very much what Dylan was saying, you've got the chance to now do this for yourself if you like DIY cloud, and you've got the capabilities to move to P9 and take advantage of this new cloud-based and total cost of ownership modeling. For the interest of time, I'll cover probably one at the bottom end. One of our high street banks moved to Power 9. They also upgraded their virtual tape at the same time. They upgraded their IBM Storewise and Flash systems, and they were able to see remarkable 55% improvements on their server technology from where they were from P7 to P8s. And also, interestingly, on their virtual tape, they moved from virtual tape to virtual tape, not physical to virtual. You'd normally see a large increase in performance, but for physical, virtual to virtual, and then we're still seeing 8.5 hours down to 2.5 hours. Great feedback, able to operate their systems in a different manner, and really giving the business time back to operate and manage some of the processes they probably weren't able to deliver before. So if there's a way us as IT advocates can help our businesses now today, it really is thinking slightly differently, enabling us to do that. So if we could skip to the next slide, Emma. I'm unfortunately going to have to probably cut Craig short, and what I'm going to ask Craig to do is on our wine tasting experience, ask him to deliver what the UK market space is doing. So it will literally be a 5-minute intro, and then we'll move forward to Hannibal Brown as the kind of as a core, the enjoyable part of the session for those who want to relax with a decent glass of wine. So thank you all for attending today. It's been great that we've been able to get some of your attendance. It's very much appreciated when we know that so much time is spent on the phone or on the webinars. And I look forward to welcoming you all at the 29th. If you can, remember to register on the link that Emma's going to be sending out to you today or tomorrow morning. And I'll look forward to enjoying a glass of wine with any questions or feedbacks that we can answer for you at that session. So with that, I'll leave you with this afternoon, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you. Cheers, Dylan.